Do you like basketball? Basketball 농구? I like, but I'm not good at. Yes, I'm not.
Me too.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the State of the League podcast, the spookiest NBA podcast on this side of the 1st of October, I guess. I'm your host, Jack, aka joestar. With me, as always, the world's spookiest Pablo Escobar. And we're joined today by Jack Dan, aka Jackthekingsfan, and Aaron Schroeder, aka Possiblechairs, both highly respected, well-renowned Sacramento Kings fans in these parts.
By others.
by people in the media. I won't say by everyone. You can't please everyone, but I'd say most people respect these guys.
A lot of people respect them.
I'll lob it to Aaron first. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I have to ask, am I seeing Pablo Escobar in a house right now? Is there some sort of federal program helping Bulls fans distraught with their off-season moves to rehome them? What's going on?
Well, I got a taste of that gambling money and I couldn't put it down. So I'm on an island right now too.
You're betting all the Bulls unders, right?
Oh yeah. Well, not Josh Giddey rebounds.
Sure.
Hammer
Best
the
rebounding
over.
guard in the league.
Oh, Jack, how you doing today?
I'm so good, man. It's 100 degrees here in Sacramento. I'm happy to be here and outside of it or inside of that.
Fucking
Getting out of the
disgusting, dude.
Oh my
Holy
God.
shit. East Coast, gorgeous for about 5 days straight now. It's like high of 71 over here. The leaves starting to change a little bit. There's a cool breeze in the air. I couldn't be happier. I'm on top of the fucking world right now.
Winter people are kicking my ass right now. I'm telling you. You guys have a good argument going right now.
It's sick. Hey, 100 degrees. No, who likes that? Who likes that? Nobody. It's disgusting. It's horrible. It should be abolished. But the way things are trending, I guess that'll only get more comments. So if it's nice where you are, get outside, enjoy the weather. If it's bad, stay inside, bury your head in the sand, man. Ignore it. Nothing will. Nothing you do matters, anyways. We're here today to talk about the Sacramento Kings and what 2024-25 might have in store for those fellas. I sent you both the regulation list of questions that we're asking all of our guests on here when we do the season previews, and the first on that list is, How are we feeling about where the Kings currently sit as a franchise? I will let Jack lead off first with this one.
I mean, it's hard to not feel good about where the Kings are right now. I mean, DeMar DeRozan, arguably the franchise's biggest free agent signing. People give me arguments about Bobby Jackson or Vlade Divac, but he's easily the best ever. And if the Kings finish 8 games over 500 this season, they are over 500. They've got a winning record in the Monty McNair era, and that seems like a low bar. But for my life as a Kings fan, where the only 3 consecutive winning seasons occurred when I was born, I'll take it. I'm feeling pretty good about where we are as a franchise right now.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Aaron, what about you?
I mean, things are fantastic. It's easy to be pessimistic as a Kings fan, but I try to think of franchises that should be happier than us. It's like the Celtics, basically, but for a team that has been more successful now than basically ever and improved its roster over the offseason and got a big-time free agent. I mean, I think the biggest thing is I wanted the DeRozan thing to happen because it showed like players would want to play in Sacramento. The players actually would want to come here. And that really started with Malik Monk coming here, then Malik Monk staying, and then getting the DeRozan acquisition was just insanity. I looked up the biggest Sacramento Kings free agent signings. Number 1 was Vlade Divac, then Bobby Jackson, Malik Monk, John Salmons. Number 5 was Scott Pollard. Number 5 was a backup big man. It was a backup center averaging 5 and 5.
And $11 million total for Pollard. That was it.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
Think about it.
Like the Alex Len of that era.
Mhm.
Just like that's
Yeah.
the biggest free agent pickup they had at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, you
basically had
saw
to
what
trick
Alex
players.
Len said, right? About his free agency. He said he had offers from other teams, but as soon as
Yeah.
Sacramento called, he's like, I'm going there.
I love Alex Len. He's the best.
Hey,
Couldn't be happier with the big Ukraine.
I will say, yeah. Like as far as backup big men go, could do a lot worse. There's I was watching the Suns last night, and Plumlee just looks like a fucking disaster. And I'm not
Yeah.
Nurkic pilled at all. And so, yeah, just like there's you could do way worse than Alex Len. I feel like he's one of those names that like people will kind of throw into conversations where it's like, and then they got Alex Len coming off the bench, but I'm like, I watch Alex Len play well sometimes. Like he has fine games. So yeah, shout out to him. Shout out to Bobby Jackson and all of them. But yeah, overall prolific offseason, and I think it's hard not to feel good if you're a Kings fan. It's just weird. Externally, I feel like most people, like non-Kings fans, way more negative about the Kings active space than people who have like been Kings fans since before like the Sabonis era, where they're like actually competitive and like kind of understand or aren't taking for granted what it means to like even be, in the playoffs or being like, winning well above 500 record or whatever. So, yeah, it's just kind of like a weird dichotomy between those two groups. Pablo, how do you feel about the Kings?
Yeah, that's literally me. I'm not a Kings fan, so I'm like, I don't know. This roster's not built to win a championship. Could we blow this up? Can we get things on track? But yeah, I'm not a Kings fan who's been waiting 20 years to play a meaningful game. So I understand it. I understand. I'm really just if it was, I would just like to move on. Like my thing has been just get off Sabonis for forever. But I know that he's super productive and he's probably fun to watch in the regular season. So it's good we have Kings representation here.
Yeah. Well, like give it, the 15-year career that Josh Giddey is going to have in Chicago. You endure that, and then you'll kind of understand the headspace that they've been in, where it's like, oh shit, this guy's actually good, and he is winning, 40 plus games, whatever, pretty consistently. So I think you say that now, you have all these hard opinions now, but you're at the beginning of a long storm of shit. So yeah, Kings fans listening to this hater, this malicious, ignorant moron in the bottom right, take it with a grain of salt. He's not all bad.
Every once in a while, I do feel like, as much as I love Sabonis and he's been just such an incredible player, when he is gone, I won't have to defend him anymore, and I'll live a more peaceful life. And whether I can build good arguments, because I can he's gonna get us to 40-something wins. He was great last season. He was all NBA. He got MVP votes. Man, it's a hard day's work coming up with Sabonis arguments on the daily.
No, it really is. I mean, his defensive limitations are going to be a Twitter talking point until hell freezes over. I will never, ever get enough of Kevon, just getting shown, hey, look, here's Kevon Looney highlights. Enjoy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there. Jokic fan. I've been there. They're starting to come back around too. The title it threw some water on the fire for a little bit, but KCP just had that quote where he was like, he's in Orlando. This is the first team I've been on or everyone wants to play defense. And everyone fucking forgets he was literally playing next to LeBron. No one wants to talk about that, but that quote comes out and everyone's like, Jokic, you fucking idiot loser. You move your feet a little more, you play up in the pick and roll a little more, and then maybe KCP would stay there. Maybe he'd take a pay cut, but no. He wanted to be.
That could have been a Brandon Jennings shot.
Yeah, those Pistons teams. No one was bought in. That was the problem over there. So yeah, Sabonis, the defense stuff, the defending him online stuff. I do agree. It's a hard day's work, but in terms of really polarizing players, I feel like there are worse guys to be fully bought in on. There are people doing that for Jalen Green and shit. And
right.
So I feel like you could have a lot harder job than being oh, this guy who's just fucking cranking out triple doubles and was the foundation of one of the league's, I mean, really the league's best offense a couple years ago. We forget how explosive Sacramento was just because they kind of had this weird down year where they only win 46 games and then they don't make the playoffs. And that's a byproduct of a Western Conference that's not going to get any easier, but it's still it's not, I don't know, it's not like they were trash last year or anything, just coming off of such
Felt
an
like
insane
Fucking felt like it. I hated last season. I hate. There are so many times that I sat there. I was like, I can't wait for this to be over. I just can't for this to be over. I just want to be mercy killed by Houston one more time. Just take me out.
Yeah, there was a stretch of like 14 games at the end of the season where the only wing we had on the roster, well, I guess we had two. There was Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes, and that was it. No Trey Lyles, no one else to back him up. The two of them just running 40 minutes a game. And we had to sit there and watch Harrison Barnes run isolations for the better part of a game where we're down 18. It's like, hey, man, you could pass it. We've got these star players. No, he's chucking up triple teamed mid-range through the legs, isolation fadeaways, and they're all missing. Hitting
So,
the
Jack,
back,
we must have
hitting
fixed
the
that,
shot
right?
clock.
We must have fixed that. Yeah, we added a
Must
bunch
fix
of
it.
wings, right? We definitely fixed that problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Tons of wings.
just double checking on what we were doing in the
Yeah.
offseason.
Because
Was
right,
it
that was
Jalen
the one
McDaniels?
thing. Yeah.
God fucking damn it, dude.
It's
Yeah.
pathetic that we switched out. Me and Aaron talked at great length about how we thought Harrison Barnes was just the worst possible wing we could have, and we went out in the
You
offseason
came
and
on here and
traded
you
for a
told
wing.
us how much he's
Yeah.
ruining your life.
Yeah, we did. And then we're like, you know what? Our solution for this is to bring in the only wing that is worse. Jalen McDaniels, welcome to the team. This guy is awful.
Well, wait a second. Jay McDaniels, that's a really good sounding defensive wing to me. I don't know.
This is true. If we could replace the L with a D, then we would be in a really awesome spot. But man, we've got his
Didn't you
evil brother.
trade that guy for him? That's a framed jersey. Shouldn't that get a
It is a
really good
framed jersey.
return in a trade?
You would think, right? You'd think that this guy, framed jersey, by the way, NBA GM survey said he was the best non-NBA player in the league. Hell yeah.
Wait,
apparently
best non-NBA player in the NBA?
Oh wait, sorry. In the world, on the planet, he was the best non-NBA player on the planet. They said it was Sasha Vezenkov, and apparently all that gets us is a guy that was labeled as trash tornado by Crafted NBA Stats.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
The price of getting off Davion Mitchell, man. There's a lot going on there.
And two second round picks in addition. 2 second-round picks, the best non-NBA player in the world, Davion Mitchell, for a guy that stinks.
Wow.
Why did you have to throw in the picks?
Big cost contract.
Because contract.
Yeah.
Well, how much is Davion making?
Davion's making like 5,
Mhm.
but the real one was Sasha, who was making 6, but then didn't want to play in the NBA anymore. So you just had to eat that as a dead cap. You had to cut him.
Oh wait, so
Damn.
he just left?
Yeah,
He's not
we
playing,
paid Toronto.
and he's dropping like 25 points a game in Greece right now. It's ridiculous.
Who can blow? Oh my god, dude! Imagine your choices in life are like, okay, I don't know what the Greece contract looks like. It's not NBA money, but it's like, okay, you could live in Greece, you could be a
Right.
fucking superstar in Greece, or you could just get like, not death threats. It's not like Sacramento fans are Lakers fans, but everyone's going to be really mad at you all the time if you're playing in the NBA and you're not very good. Yeah, I'm going to fucking Greece, dude. So shout out Vezenkov for making the baller's choice. I love that. Shout out to Davion Mitchell for the cool nickname.
Off
And
night.
I'm sorry that you
Off
guys
night.
didn't get more wings. I guess we'll probably get into that later on. But so just to recap how we feel about the Kings, where they're at as a franchise, feeling good. How do you feel about like the ceiling versus the floor of this team? Because I feel like they're a relatively high floor as far as like the recipe for winning for a very successful regular season. I don't know what that's going to look like in this West. Like it's not going to be like 53 plus game or wins or anything, but the recipe for solid regular season, a playoff appearance, it feels like it's really straightforward. But the recipe for maybe giving one of the better teams in the West a really competitive series, which that's the goal that I laid out if I'm looking at this from Sacramento's perspective. If you could give Oklahoma City, Dallas, Denver, Minnesota, maybe with Randall, if you could give any of those teams like a really hard series and convince yourself that you're just a piece away from really contending, that's what like a really good outcome for this season looks like. How likely do you feel like that's in play? Aaron, I'll give this to you. I gave the last one to Jack.
I'd love to play Julius Randle in the playoff series. I just want to throw that out there. Bring him on. Let's do this. I think the floor is definitely a lot higher than the ceiling. Because I think the floor is going to be like 45 wins. Even like last season was a disaster with some injuries and Harrison Barnes not existing, the herder problems we had, and we still just like fell face first into 47 wins. Or was it 46 wins?
It was 46. I mean,
46 wins. Yeah, sure. Now, I mean, people are going to care. I'm going to get DMs saying it's actually 46, dipshit. All right. So, but to say that, but then like there is the limitation of the lack of wings on the roster, of the Sabonis and protection issues, like that are probably going to come into play, that are going to prevent us from, even if, because there's the universe where this team is like 55 games. It's not that far off. If you say, I think the expectation is probably close to 48, 49 wins. Well, you win a couple close ones and you're closer to the mid-50s, but even then, I don't really see the path where I'd even take them seriously, like as a contender. And this team can make the second round, like crazy hot, maybe conference finals appearance, but that's best case scenario.
Yeah, I'm kind of at the same place. Like, there's definitely a world where a deep playoff run happens, but ultimately there are problems with how the defense is going to stack up that are going to just hold you back. A competitive first round series would be, I think, like the bare minimum for me to not be super pissed and want to like blow it up and really make a big change to the team. The bare minimum is going to be that like competitive loss, the competitive first round loss. I can very easily see high 40s, maybe a 50 win season. I'm thinking 50 on the dot, just so I can keep myself going throughout the year. But high 40s feels about right. Yeah.
So if they lose, if they go 7 in the first round and lose, you're that's like that. You'd be cool.
That's
I'm blowing it up.
It's so borderline. It depends on the team. It depends on the, like, if we lose a 7-game series to, okay, if it's New Orleans,
okay,
I'm done. Someone's got to go. Something's got to happen.
Pablo's got to go.
Gone.
Apparently,
Pablo's gone. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. If it was if it's the Nuggets or it's the Mavericks or it's the Thunder, I feel better about giving it another season. But if it's one of the lower tier, if it's an LA team or God forbid the Warriors or the Pelicans, I'm going to want something big to change. And I think I have an idea of what it is, but I don't want to talk about it until I get there.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable way to feel. Me personally, it depends on like the seeding and everything. Like I say, first round, no matter what, I would have very strong feelings. But yeah, if they give like Oklahoma City a really hard series, I would feel good about that. Like that's something to feel good about. But I just don't know if that's really in the cards as it stands right now. New Orleans is a different beast altogether, because then you're starting to look into like, well, if we lose to New Orleans and it's like another like tough Sabonis series or something against a team that like Daniel Tice, you're struggling. Like if he's struggling in those scenarios, that's like a serious self-reflection time. Pablo, do you have any thoughts on Sacramento right now? What's going on?
I want to mention about my expectations with.
Okay.
Pablo could be just the kind of the observer, the watcher of this podcast.
Pablo's just witnessing all this go down. I like it a lot. All right, what were you gonna say, Aaron?
For expectations, because question number 2 was revolved around that. I feel like I think we could win 49 games. I'd love to say 50. It'd be a good season if it's anything above that. But thinking about like, well, what would a disappointing season be? It's anything below that. Like I am like drowning underwater and just my lips are like breaching the surface for air. If I fall 1 win below 49, I'm losing. I'm freaking out. I can't we've done this enough. We improved our roster with DeMar DeRozan. Keon Ellis is here. Keegan Murray should be better. This is a much better team. We need to win games now. And I'm not gonna because I think especially in the Western Conference, If it's 45 wins instead of 49 wins, that's a difference between the 6 seed to the 10 seed, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Aaron a lot on that because I think if it's a really competitive first round loss, that's one thing. But this team is built this team may not be built for the playoffs, but this team is built for the regular season. If there's anything short of a successful regular season, barring some ridiculous injury, I think you've got to trade one of the core five. So Fox, Sabonis, Keegan, DeMar, Monk. You've got to do something drastic if this is not the regular season that's really complete.
Yeah, if you
Blake
guys
Monk
trade
is
if you guys trade Monk after he takes that contract, that's the dirtiest fucking move. Oh man.
Yeah,
Can't happen. Yeah, he'd come back
can't happen.
and kill Monty McNair for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. With like talking about being built for the regular season, it's interesting because I feel like the counterpart for you guys this year really is Memphis to me. Where like you have and we have to see how the whole Minnesota thing shakes out now. Before, like I was really set on this idea that like it would be OKC, Dallas, Denver, Minnesota are like the four top seeds, however it shakes out. And then I felt like Sacramento and Memphis are two teams that like a lot of question marks around between like just season from hell in Memphis, obviously, and the whole Zach Edey thing. Versus like this big, you just upgraded DeMar DeRozan from Harrison Barnes and all that. So that's two teams that like really stable recipes for winning a lot of games, even if we're kind of like waiting to see it all shake out. And then, so like that's tier 2. And then you get down into the tier below where it's like the Golden States, the Phoenix, the Lakers, the Houstons, I guess maybe the Clippers, I don't know, of the world where there are ways that those teams, if they had a very prolific season, could like hot streak into a top 6 seed or something. But it's a lot more difficult to see that happening than it is for like Memphis or Sacramento. And so do you guys feel that way, that like is a really successful regular season being a top 6 seed, or would you still be happy like home court in the play-in, like top 7, top 8? Jack, I'll throw this to you because I just threw it to Aaron.
It was as much fun as it was to get to witness the play-in win against the Warriors. That was one of the most fun basketball games that I've ever got to see live. I don't want to be in a play-in again. I think that is part of the like, hey, if this is a bad regular season, then it's not a successful season. I think you've got to crack the top 6 if you've got this talented of a team. You've got a coach you've had for the last 3 years. You've had the same GM for 4 years. You've built this framework. You've got to start winning at some point. I think 6 or up, 6 or top 6 or bust has got to be the mentality.
Okay, Aaron, what about you?
I think it's got to be. Yeah, a play-in is, like I said earlier, the play-in is a disaster. That's not just like, oh, home court in the play-in is the worst case scenario. Like, I'm like, come check on me if we get to that point. I think that I actually like Phoenix quite a bit more. I had OKC, Dallas, Phoenix, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, and the Kings at the 6th spot. I do think there's a bit of a gap between the Kings and then like into the Grizzlies, Warriors, Lakers, Pelicans tier.
Okay.
I wish I could write the Lakers off, but I know they're going to send out one of those picks for some contributor and win 45 games. But with a DeRozan piece, one, Harrison Barnes is getting those shots anyways. Wouldn't you like that to be a better player? I would like that to be a better player. Let's have DeMar DeRozan take those shots instead. The other thing is he led the league in total minutes played last season. Like if we're building like a team that is just going to make the playoffs and forget about what happens afterwards, you've kind of done it. Sabonis plays through injuries. He has both years. Fox did it last season, although he had some issues doing so, which we can talk about. And then you add DeMar DeRozan, who's like, I mean, if I'm creating the all regular season team of the last 5 years, like Sabonis and DeRozan are our first team.
Yeah.
Pablo,
can we check how you doing?
Let's see. How do the 3, 2, 1 delay test?
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, I feel like that was pretty snappy. Can you
Why does
like?
Pablo have better connection in his goddamn car in this house?
I know. Maybe got to go back out to the
I think
car.
it is a laptop heating up issue. If it goes out of sync again, I will just switch to the phone.
Okay, all right.
Back to the car you go.
Yeah.
go outside. Oh man. All right. So we're at like 24. So I'll do a little editing, little behind the scenes magic. No big deal. Shit. What were we just talking about? So like
The expectations.
yeah, like top
Yeah,
6 seed.
good regular season team. Yeah.
Yeah. On top of the fact that like you would expect this to be a really clutch team as well between Fox and DeRozan. So like even if they get into the mud against some teams that they shouldn't be, really scrapping against, you would still expect them to be able to pull those games out, especially just in like terms of regression to the mean, where it's like best clutch team in the league 2 years ago, pretty much just like constant game winners. And then last year it did not feel like they had any of those wins. I would expect them to like bounce back on that front a little bit. So yeah, I'm high on them for the regular season. I'm a little surprised with the Phoenix pick, Aaron, but
I like the Phoenix.
I was saying how I didn't like their bigs last night. Their overall offense was really like an improvement. Like it was notably just like spamming threes with a bunch of really good shooters. And that makes more sense than whatever Vogel was doing last year. So maybe it works. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know, but I got to see it first. And that's why they're kind of lower for me. Pablo, do you have any thoughts or expectations for the Kings this year?
Yeah, no, just your team built to win now. If you're not a straight up playoff team, that's a pretty bad sign. And the goal should be like at least second round.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I think again, like if they give OKC like if you lose to OKC in the first round, I get that. But I would still like even Dallas has some flaws. Like they aren't this overwhelming force of basketball the way that the Thunder seem like they're going to be, the way that kind of the Celtics are in the East. Dallas has those flaws. Denver, Minnesota absolutely have those flaws. So anybody but OKC, I would really want to see Sacramento like push to the brink, if not like outright beat. Otherwise, I'm looking to seriously shake something up if I was in your guys' shoes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about off-season moves, because we're talking about all this regular season production, why it's going to be so good, why it's going to be so fun. Kings had one of the best off seasons in the NBA. I feel like they really huge glaring problems, both in the looming threat of the departure of Malik Monk and the fact that you're going to have to employ Harrison Barnes. You can't have either of those things. They fixed both of them. Who did I give the last question to, Jack?
Yeah.
All right. Aaron, how you feeling about the offseason?
The offseason was an A+. And even minus like the DeMar DeRozan consideration, like keeping Malik Monk was insane. He was gonna be an Orlando Magic. That was happening, and we knew that was gonna happen for like months and months in advance. Me and Jack both understood that. The fact that he stayed in the contract that he stayed for was insane. What was the other guard that signed this offseason, and his deal was not as good? Jack, who was that? Either Jack.
Casting a wide net
on the spot.
Yeah, there was one that signed, and it was like, man, if they got that contract, I'm totally forgetting who it was, but the money was really good on top of that. You're looking at basically $20 million a year for Malik Monk. It's like totally reasonable, and it wasn't just the money, it wasn't just the player, but the fact that someone didn't have to be like tricked into playing basketball for the Sacramento Kings. Like, holy shit, let's check this out. And the DeRozan thing felt like a cultural impact, like a real move. Someone that he was like, he had Lakers written all over them. He's old. He doesn't shoot threes. He's going to be expensive. Welcome to the LA Lakers, baby. And he instead chose to do those things in Sacramento. And so and he's from LA. I couldn't believe that even happened. And so like, it's not even about the basketball on the court. Like we're trying to change the culture from a new coach every year, a new GM every couple years, like players in and out, high draft picks. Like our team always sucks. The city sucks. Like it's not just the players are getting better, but the city's getting better. This in the 2010s,
Everything's
the
fucking
Sacramento's
terrible all the time. I hate it.
It was
Wow.
this was the worst. It like
Wow.
in 2013, this was the worst place you could possibly be in the
Okay.
NBA.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like on top of that, it's like, hey, like Sacramento is actually like reputation as a big city is improving, and the team is improving with it. Like, can this be something where people growing up, like basketball prospects in high school, don't know Sacramento as the worst thing ever to happen, and are actually happy if they end up playing here?
Wait, so
Yeah,
did DeRozan straight up choose Sacramento? Did he have a chance to go to the Lakers and he chose to go to the
yes,
Kings?
he did. It was the Lakers, Clippers, Heat, and he chose the Kings out of that group.
Over the
It's
Lakers,
incredible.
the
It's
Clippers, and the Heat.
I know.
Whoa.
It's his hometown. Getting him on the money that we got him on. We got him on less total money than Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, damn.
Then Miles
it's an
Bridges,
insane deal.
Then
Yeah,
DeAndre Hunter. I mean, it's insane.
Was it
value.
more money than the others were offering him, or was it comparable?
I don't know about that, but presumably it was similar, something like that. But he also stressed a lot. He's said it a lot in the media day interviews that this was a place that he felt like he could win and he could be a part of a culture that he liked. He liked Mike Brown. He liked Fox and Sabonis. He could see himself as a part of a program that was already winning. Like with the Clippers, he'd have to be Mr. Clipper, right? Like for that, that's what he would have to be. If Kawhi Leonard's going to be hurt, that's what he'd have to do. If he was on the Heat, he'd have to be doing a lot more work. He wanted to be a part of a team that was winning. He's 34.
It's super funny to imagine him looking at the Clippers and the Heat and being like, nobody plays any games here. Nobody plays any regular season. I'm already doing this in Chicago. Make my life easier. And so, yeah, right. Sacramento, they're good in that regard. So, yeah, it does feel like a bit of a culture shift, I suppose.
It was Emmanuel Quickly, by the way. It was 5 years, 175.
Yeah.
And I like Emmanuel Quickly,
insane.
but it just in contrast to what 3 years, 60 for 56 for Monk.
Yeah, something like that. It was incredible that we got him for that amount of money. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's immediately up there with like just the best value contracts in the league, and it's I mean, I don't know what kind of moves you guys are going to make in terms of fleshing out the roster and how you will be restricted financially. But having those kinds of contracts, having like all-star players like Maxey on his rookie scale deal or whatever was what I was looking at last year a lot. Having those kinds of players on that value of money is something that you pretty regularly see from teams that like kind of find a way to game the system. And it's like, oh, how have they like put together all of this talent? It's because they've made a lot of shrewd moves on the margins, and I don't know if that's going to happen in Sacramento, but it definitely feels
like Keon Ellis already on what's he making, like $4 million?
Less. He's making 2.5.
Oh man, what a steal!
Oh my god,
with a team option, by the way.
Oh,
that's incredible stuff.
Him and Vic Krejci. We need to start putting together a team of these guys where it's just like
on the pass last night.
Oh my god, steal into the full court bounce pass. He's be a Vic Krejci if you didn't love him.
Krejci, man.
Yeah. So are there any moves, Jack? I'll throw this to you next. Like any just things that happened this offseason, doesn't even have to be like personnel changes. Outside of the DeRozan Monk events that like you're paying attention to, you think might have an impact on the upcoming season?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about the Jalen McDaniels trade, which I'm not a big fan of at all. That was done before the DeMar one as a way to clear up cap room in preparation to get DeMar DeRozan in the building. And it did do that. Like that trade did effectively create cap space. And now with DeMar DeRozan, we aren't paying the tax, but I'm not super crazy about being the only competitive team that isn't paying the tax. Like that, I think there's something to be said. Every other team that is, has championship aspirations, has playoff aspirations, that wants to be good this year is paying the tax. And we are still doing things like giving away 2 second-round picks and the better player in the trade to save money so that we're not paying the tax. I'd like to see that sort of mentality change. If you've got DeMar, who's 34, you've got Fox, who's about to get an extension. You've got Sabonis, who you have extended. You have paid him the money. I want a little bit more of a financial commitment. You mentioned the financial stuff earlier. Like, to be the only competitive team that's not paying the tax is just not a position I love being in. There were some other fringe moves, like bringing in Jordan McLaughlin to replace Davion Mitchell, that are interesting. I really like one of the undrafted free agents that we got, and I'll talk about him later. But outside of that, I know we don't literally have money because we're under the cap and there is a cap and you'd have to pay the tax, but there's so much more available that could be done that is being sacrificed in the effort to be cheap, which is a bummer. That was the worst part about this offseason. The only reason why I wouldn't call it an A+ is because of stuff like that. The second round pick in the Jalen McDaniels trade is Portland's second rounder next year. That's going to be pick 32.
Yeah.
That's essentially a first round pick. And Monty McNair has this philosophy of not drafting in the second round, which I can appreciate because it is kind of a crapshoot. Like, I understand. And he's pretty good at bringing in undrafted guys, but it's really annoying when it's a pick like that. It's like, that's 32 in a really good draft. Like,
we don't need it. We don't need it. Get it out of here. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I think as a Nuggets fan, totally valid criticism. Right. Like, I'm in the you're my little brother sense, like in the big bro world, we're doing the same shit, you know, where it's like second apron. We could bring back this team that like was a 20-point lead at home in Game 7 away from like conference finals that they would have a great matchup in, and instead we're like, Christian Brown's a starter, so it's fine. We'll just figure all that shit out. So I understand like the frustration on that front, and just this idea that like, we don't actually have money to spend because we are under the cap. Every time anyone tells me that like they can't do something financially in the NBA, I never believe anyone anymore, because like it always feels like front offices, if they want to get something done, like they could just figure it the fuck out. Like they could move pieces around and have all of these math dorks that they've hired kind of crunch the numbers in a special way and get the job done. It's so, I don't know. I'm on board that like, being under the tax, you guys have a lot of moves left to make, and so that's why I'm in the boat that like if you can get the team to a point where it looks like they're really close, they're a move away, that would be a phenomenal season. But if they don't end up making those moves because they want to be under the luxury tax, that would suck a lot. Aaron, any thoughts on that front?
I had two thoughts. One, the McDaniels trade was really sobering because we spent all season being like, man, we'll take Davion and Vizenkov and we'll get these wings and Cam Johnson and all these great players. And it's like, what if you gave them away for nothing? And I'm like, okay, never mind. Sorry, guys. Like, my bad. Didn't mean to impose expectations. Vivek's trying to keep the A's in Sacramento. That's why he's not spending any money. Okay. Basically, he's trying to buy a baseball team. Which I'm down for. Let's do that. But still, it's going to affect things in the Kings front, I'm sure. For some Kings like trade targets throughout the season, there's 3 points. There's the Nets fire sale. That's just inevitable. There's
you saw Ben Simmons shoot that turnaround jumper, right?
I actually didn't. Did he make it?
Either.
He shot it.
Did he man?
Hey, get a shot on above the break 3, you know? Like, things are changing. Yeah.
All right. Which is basically Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith. And these involve, like, the herder contracts and the picks attached and whatnot. Depending on how the Raptor season goes, can you call on Bruce Brown? Basically trying to fit in more defensive-minded, like, 3-and-D players. You know, the players that everyone's trying to collect. Walker Kessler, depending on how the Jazz season goes, the Jazz have been really kind of like floating him out there. He defends the rim really well. He's just one of the best players at that. Think of just like better Alex Len, and if the price isn't too high, I'd love to make that switch. And my last one is rehoming PJ Tucker. Basically trying to get off the basically, if Herder is a disaster, would the Clippers take that in order to get some cap flexibility coming our way? Because Tucker's an expiring.
And if none of those go through, maybe you call up the Chicago Bulls. Maybe you reunite him and Levine. 2021, they were a pretty sick combination, right? Maybe you get other guys like Lonzo Ball. Remember him? He's one of the best defenders in the league. He just hasn't played, and so he's probably the same guy, right? So maybe you'd give up like first round picks for him or something, right?
Could we get Io DeSumo?
I mean, hey, for a first round pick, I'd be listening to it.
Hey, first rounder. I'll give you a first rounder for Io. You're not getting one.
I like
for
Io a
Lonzo.
lot. Yeah, I'll take Io.
Yeah.
Io's my grandma's favorite player. She lives in
That's
Chicago.
based.
That is cool.
I have some questions about Herder, actually. It does feel like he is a bit of a, I don't know if I want to say X factor, because you're not like leaning on him for anything in this upcoming season. It's just kind of like, you know, if he bounces back to being a great shooter, which is not out of the question or anything, then that's like a really that he felt like a part of the nuclear Kings light the beam offense that kind of exploded onto the map. The like iconic crowd pop clip where he hits that like game tying or game winning 3-pointer off of like 4 offensive rebounds. Yeah, he felt. Oh shit! I'm surprised you could still hear it, dude. That was crazy. Yeah, it just feels like he was part of it. And last year with the regression, it might have played a part in the faltering of this team's identity a little bit. Obviously, if you're not as good of a basketball team, that's going to be a bigger part of the team's identity getting messed up. But him and what he provided as a floor spacer and kind of this nuclear shooting threat. I have a list of things from other Western Conference teams. I want you guys to tell me which you think is more likely to happen. Herder rebounding to that great shooting level, or this alternative thing. So the first one I have for those is that Bradley Beal works at small forward for the Phoenix Suns. Oh, yeah. I got him against the wall, baby.
For all, let's go Jack, Aaron, then me.
Okay.
All right.
I think it's more likely that Beal works at the small forward. I think.
Okay.
Kevin Herter's got some interesting rhythm stuff that makes him a very difficult. It makes the way that he's always worked this way since high school and the Hawks and in college. If he doesn't start games, he doesn't shoot the ball.
That white boy's got rhythm issues.
Yeah, I mean, come on, as we all do, right? But if he's coming off the bench, he shoots like 23% from 3. You can tell by just watching the Kings game, if he doesn't make 1 or 2 of the first 3 shots he takes, he couldn't hit the broad side of a barn for the rest of the game. So he's not likely going to be starting for this Kings team, because with him starting, you're taking way too much of a defensive hit by not starting Keon Ellis.
Yeah.
That it's hard for me to imagine. Like if he can figure out the rhythm stuff, he can figure out a way to get it going off the bench, then fantastic. But he has 7 years of statistical history that says he's not going to work off the bench, and the Kings have to play him off the bench. And as much as I don't like Bradley Beal,
it's
what are we going to do?
Yeah. Well, 7 years, he's due. Okay.
He's due.
He's due. That's the thing with these shooters. You got to pay attention to when they're due. Aaron, is that in line with how you're feeling?
That's how I'm feeling. I think it's because the Suns are going to force that. They're going to make that work. They have that big ass contract saying that's going to happen. And for Kevin Herter, there's really nothing in it for Sacramento to force it. If he's not playing well, then Keon Ellis is going to play. When Devin Carter comes back, he's going to take his minutes. And for Herter last season, he started the first 2 games 1 of 10 from 3, and it was over. That was it. Like it was that is the rhythm he needed, and he messed up the first 2 games, and Brown started messing with his minutes, and it was never the same after that. Because like Jack's saying, he comes off the bench, he doesn't shoot well, and that was happening for not just coming off the bench, but his minutes were so inconsistent even if he was starting. They'd play him like 7 in the first quarter. If he missed his first 2 shots, he wasn't playing that night. And he knew that. And I feel like that added pressure to it. I don't think Herder. Herder can bounce back, but there's really nothing in it for the Kings to make it work.
Okay, Pablo, any thoughts?
Bradley Beal, I think there's a good chance it could work out offensively for them, but defensively, it's probably going to be a disaster no matter what. So I would say there's a better chance of Kevin Herter finding his shot than there is of the Bradley Beal staying at 3 for the entire season long. Like, I feel like they got to figure something out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these guys make a good case. I wasn't super locked into the bench starting thing. I don't think he will start for them. So if that's like really what it hinges on, yeah, that's a wrap. But who knows? Who knows? These are professionals.
It's kind of like an economics question, because even if he is good and his shot has fully rebounded, I'm actually not sure if it's worth starting him over Keon Ellis because of the hit you take defensively. So like, even if he is good, he's going back to like 40% from 3. I think I'd probably rather still have Keon Ellis, who's also a 40% 3-point shooter, but can play defense,
What if Keon regresses? What if we're looking at 36% from 3 on 4 attempts?
Don't say that kind of stuff on here, man.
I'll be throwing myself off golden 1. It's over.
Oh man!
All right. Was the question about Kevin Herter starting or just being good?
Just being good.
Yeah, just bouncing back.
Same question though.
Yeah,
he's not good.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I guess I'm hoping Kevin Herter's practicing coming off the bench. He's at the YMCA sitting down, standing up.
Yeah, he is currently hurt.
He's
He's currently hurt, which is worth mentioning. Like, he is actively injured. He's not at full strength right now. So
physically or spiritually?
He's a third best
probably
shooting
a
guard
little
on
bit
our
of both. Probably a little bit of both.
Crap.
Yeah.
Who's okay?
Devin Carter. Put Devin Carter at the 2.
Okay. All right. So second one I got. Will Kevin Herter's jumper rebound, or will Brandon Podziemski take a big step forward as like an on-ball creator for the Warriors? Jack, I guess we're leading off with you for all of these. So what do you think?
Oh God, I really like Pods. I'm going to go with Pods again. I think any player playing next to Steph Curry as the shooting guard has got to be the world's easiest job.
Well, that's the third best point guard in the league.
Okay.
Who's the first? Luka and
Shea? Luka and Shea?
Well, yeah, Luka and Shea. That's what the NBA GM survey said. So
Tyrese Halliburton. Put him in
hey, you guys traded him, idiot.
Yeah.
Luka.
Come on, Aaron.
Yeah, he is.
No, I'd go with Pods.
Okay. All right. Aaron, what about you?
I'm going with Herter. I don't think if Steve Kerr saw one of his young players playing 30 plus minutes a night, he's kneecapping them. So like, he's not letting that happen. Are you kidding me? He's like, Pods, you played well. Moses
Right,
Moody, you're in. Like, just keep rotating him.
Get the veteran in there.
I'm gonna bet on Podziemski in the battle of the white boys. I'm taking him.
Oh, nice. I didn't even think about it. It's a battle of the redheads, really.
You don't even see color like that.
Yeah, that's because I'm woke. This is a woke podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's funny to imagine Steve Kerr, like Podziemski's having a good game. He hits 30 minutes. His young player alarm like goes off in his brain. He looks down the bench and he's like, "Oh fuck, I have to sub in Moses Moody. What? I can't do either of these things." And then he like rolls 4 players out there.
And he has an aneurysm.
Yeah, damn.
And then he just ends up playing Gary Payton II.
Hey, get him out there.
It's gonna be Buddy Hield, like you mentioned. The Buddy Hield is gonna get 30 minutes tonight. Warriors fans are gonna be calling for Kerr's head, guarantee it, because the Warriors are trying to win games, and Hield is still pretty good. And it's gonna be a tough season, rotation wise.
I don't know. I feel like Pods is I feel like Pods, for whatever reason, kind of like Doug, carved out his own little role in the Warriors rotation that Kerr was able to stomach a lot more than like the whole Kuminga thing. Just because like that was like him publicly being like, "This coach is a fucking idiot. I can average 20 a game. Please let me cook." And then like he just had to take the L on being wrong on that front. Whereas Pods, a very classic, like coach loves him. Nose in the dirt. He's doing all the blue collar shit.
If you're getting charges, the coaches are gonna want to play you as much as possible.
Exactly. So I think I'd go Pods on that front. Next one I got. Do we think Herder's jump shot will rebound, or do we think D'Angelo Russell will get traded for something impactful off of the Lakers? Jack, actually, Pablo, let's reverse it. Jack, you can go
Okay.
last this time. Pablo, what do you think?
Something impactful makes it tough because I don't know if there's anything impactful out there that they could realistically get him for. But yeah, I would go Herder jumper in this case.
Okay. Aaron?
I'll go Herder jumper too. Honestly, I just don't see D'Lo is one of the all-time trade rumor players, but I don't know if he's actually going to get flipped. I just don't think the Lakers can stomach that. Like, they actually need him. He averaged like 18 and 6. They need a player that does those things. I think like Hachimura is a much more likely sacrificial lamb on the LeBron last season. Let's try to win 50 games to get obliterated in the first round.
JJ wouldn't blaze him.
If
That's
they move
gotta mean
Hachimura, like that will destroy them, I feel like. But what do I know? Jack, what do you think?
I'm also going to go with Herder, I guess, because I think you hung me up on the impactful player thing, because I think D'Lo is at a certain level still fine. People don't want to say it out loud that he's not like horrible, and I don't think they're going to do a lot better than him in a trade, and I think they've realized that over the last 6 times they've tried to trade him, that you're not going to get a lot better than him. So I'm going to go with Herder.
I don't know. I'm just like wary. D'Lo, the whole problem, and I mean maybe this is Sabonis too. Maybe you guys are doing the same fucking thing. Maybe life is cyclical. It's just building this like 18 and 6 into your offense, and then like in the playoffs it's just evaporated. It's just gone. And like Sabonis, I'm joking a little bit. We'll get to that. But with D'Lo, it's like this established thing where all of the stuff that like really heavily impacts the game just kind of like goes away. It's incredibly difficult because you lean on him for that stuff in the regular season, and I don't think you would get a team that would reciprocate that kind of offensive production if you were to move off of him. But at the same time, it feels insane to just like kind of swallow that pill and be like, hey, if he can't do it, if it wins us 50 games, and if he's like a big part of the reason that we're winning and the reason we're playing good, and we know it's not going to happen in the playoffs, and we just have to hope that this time is different, is being insane. Insanity is doing it over and over and getting the same result or expecting something different. So that's how I feel on the D'Lo front. But I'm on board. I think, the Herder jumper is probably more likely as far as getting something impactful back. The last one I have for you guys is the Herder jumper, or Zach Edey is a perfect fit on the Memphis Grizzlies. Like he is what everybody's like. He sets screens. He's a great offensive rebounder. He's 7'3" fucking Steven Adams or whatever. Like he is that to a T. Is that more likely, or is the Herder rebound likely? Pablo, I'll give it to you.
I want to go with Edey optimism. I've seen one clip out of preseason where he caught a lob from Ja, and I was like, oh my God, it's game changing. He's here. He's looking spry. And he's shooting the threes and in warm-ups. That's totally real. So yeah, I'll go with Edey. Just because it would be the cooler outcome.
Nice. Aaron?
Zach Edey. I've been on Edey Island for all year. This is like since the beginning. Zach Edey's going to be a good pro. He's gigantic.
It's easy to reach the
rebounds
top
well.
fruit in the trees on Edey Island.
That's right.
If he's there with you. If the trees are molded after him, then it's difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that he'll be able to score really efficiently in the post. Where teams are going to target, if they're going to go small to target him, they better score on those possessions because he can score on smaller players every time. And so I think the Grizzlies will be a good team, and Edey will be a big part of that.
Well, the Spurs one might target him with Harrison Barnes at center. Did you see? I think he played center.
I saw that lineup.
He's their problem now.
I don't know. Maybe Pop is losing it, honestly. Playing Harrison Barnes at center is just... I don't know if you watched that game in full, but he was getting
absolutely
blown by. It was so bad.
Well, it could have been a scheme issue. Could have been scheme related.
It could have been a scheme issue. Yeah. Even Chet Holmgren is just kind of a tough matchup for him. He'll be better. They should just keep trying that lineup.
Oh, brother.
I'll go with Edey over... I don't love Zach Edey. I've told Aaron a million times about how much I don't like Zach Edey. But I do think that his fit in Memphis is really good. And as much as I have tons of concerns about his mobility and stuff like that, he's landed in a situation with John, with Bane, with so many other guys who can create not just for themselves but others. Like he'll be fine, and it's a much higher chance than Herder getting a shot back, I think.
I love that the allusions to your two's off-season conversations are just two things. This Jalen McDaniels trade has ruined our life. And then number two, I hate Zach Edey. I don't believe in him as a Kings fan.
Oh man.
I want to mention really quickly because this feels like it's kind of pressing with Zach Edey taking threes or reminded me with the Sabonis 3-point shooting.
Oh yeah, I wrote that down.
Yeah, Mike Brown said that he wants Sabonis taking 3 to 5 threes a game. What are you talking about? What do you mean by that? You can't possibly be serious about that. Like, there's two pieces. One, our best rebounder is now taking 3-pointers. He's not by the basket. Why bring in DeMar DeRozan, this great offensive creator, if now you're just going to have your best rebounder nowhere near the rim? I just don't understand it. He took 1-3 a game last season. It'd be a complete waste of an offensive possession to try to get that in volume. Sabonis' offensive limitations in the biggest games, in the biggest moments, are because he doesn't even look at the rim from 3 feet out. He's not even if you watch him in the fourth quarter, if he's at the free throw line, he's not even facing the basket. Like, he's not even a threat to score. Could he add like a little bit of a mid-range before we start talking about 3 to 5 threes per game? What's going on?
It's kind of crazy. I mean, I went back through all 80. He only took 87. So I went back through all 87 of his 3-point shots last season. And of the 33 he made, 29 were just unbelievably wide open. Not even a player within 15 feet. And then the other ones were, yeah, exactly. They were just like slightly more or slightly less wide open, but still wide open. If he can learn how to take any sort of outside shot, I'd love it if he could just be really good at taking those 10 to 15 footers at the top of the key, because, you know, with how the offense works, he ends up being open there a lot just as a byproduct of how the ball moves in the offense. If he could be great at that and maybe hit 2 threes a game, that'd be fantastic. But the idea of making Sabonis into this like Miles Turner sort of thing is I don't know if I love it.
It's so insane.
How many threes would he actually have to be making to actually have a spacing effect? Like, Draymond shot really well from 3 last year. Was Draymond actually pulling defenders away?
No, because they want him taking that shot. Sabonis got the Nurkic thing he does where he like turns around and he's like, whatever, you take that shot. He did that to Sabonis. Like, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Draymond only shot 2.3 threes a game last year. Like, I'm looking for 2. Two is what I'm thinking.
That was 40%.
If Sabonis had the shooting season that Draymond had last year, that would be like an unprecedented career improvement, and it would still be this thing where it's like we will live with that possession.
It's not going to impact the like foundation of the offense. How many? Realistically, what do you have if he's making 4 at like 38%? Would they close out to him yet or no?
If he's making 4 a game?
Wait, making 4. If he's taking 4 and making.
I think it would start around there. Like, I feel like it would. That's where like you start building it in, where it's like you can't just fucking ignore him. 38%, and he's at like 3 or 4 a game. Like, you have to pay attention to him. But
he's getting like the Giddy Okoro treatment out there. Yeah, where it's like like maybe.
But to Jack's point, like, the offense is run through dribble handoffs, like through Sabonis, and so many times the defense kind of swarms the guys trying to get the ball, and then Sabonis is left with the ball with no one near him. And like, you can take that. Let's just take that shot. You're like right at the free throw line.
Yeah, it's looks that are already built into the offense. And that's why I'm on board with Jack. Him adding, and I don't want to, like, Hartenstein, the touch shot, it's one of his, like, that's like one of the most underrated things in hoops to me. Because like that's not a shot that like every big can make. But he's like prolific, good at it, like 7-8 feet out, just like a little floater from a standstill. And I feel like Sabonis would have a lot of those. If he could add something like that to his bag in just like a passable nature, where like you saying he's not even facing the basket on a lot of these possessions, Aaron, that kind of, I thought back in my mind, I was like, damn, that is how those pan out, where he's like just looking for the handoff somewhere. Someone come get this handoff. And yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know if it will change, but that seems like if you're hoping for like real postseason improvement from Sabonis, that's a spot where you could look to and be like, hey, this is something you can add to your bag that like changes the way teams have to respect you. And like by a byproduct of that, they have to respect the rest of our team differently. I don't know if that'll happen, but it seems like a pretty straight way forward. Damn. What question are we on? We've completely abandoned the outline, you guys. Oh my god, we're terrible. So mid-season trades we want or expect the Sacramento Kings to make. I guess we could settle in there. Lack of wings on the roster. You've both touched on it. Is there anything that you think the Kings will do to address that? I'll throw this one to Jack first.
I mean, I would hope. As we all know, with every deadline, there's going to be 3 or 4 teams that are completely selling everything. We've got to be able to snag some sort of defensive focused wing from any of these teams, whether it's like the very low end, and it's grabbing Matisse Thybulle from Portland,
Okay.
or it's getting Dorian Finney-Smith from the Nets, or Cam Johnson from the Nets. Just one of these teams that are going to be at the bottom. We need a guy that I don't need to worry about him getting a huge amount of offensive volume. I just need him to be able to switch across a couple positions and guard 2 to 4 on the offense. We just need another guy who can be passable defensively on the wing. If someone like Ayo Dosunmu, I don't think the Bulls are super interested in trading him, but that is like a high value target that I'd love the Kings to look at. That's the kind of guy that would be perfect with what we're trying to do on offense.
Aaron?
Hey, Giddey will be getting minutes over him, so maybe he'll be easy to pick up. Just, I mean, the Bulls roster is astounding. The amount of guards on that team, I can't even fathom it. But for
it's 10. It's 10.
It's 10 of them.
Zig when everyone zag.
What are they doing? It reminds me in the 2015 when the Pistons were like, you know how the Warriors are taking a lot of threes and just won a title? How about like Josh Smith at the 3? What if he did like him, Greg Monroe, and Andre Drummond? And I feel like the Bulls are like, Jokic is the best player in basketball, like Giannis and Embiid. What if we did my dog's going?
I thought that was in my apartment for a second. I was like, what is that noise?
I'll have to go. I gotta go see him. I'll be back.
Right.
I knew it wasn't in my apartment. I made a quick read.
Oh, nice. You're like a tactical guy like that. You assess the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'm like a point guard, like one of the many. The Chicago Bulls fan base is also just all point guards, So that's probably why they did it, because we like watching people who are like us. So people will read the situation right away.
Aaron killed the dog. That was so fast. Dude. Oh my god.
Swift kick and it's over. What was I saying? Trade targets? Yeah, wings, defensive wings. Dorian Finney-Smith, guys that can do that for us. I think what hurts so bad is we've built like a pretty good team, and we beloved these players. These players are beloved. I mean, we love these players, and when you actually have to trade some of them, it gets really difficult because I don't want to trade any of our core guys. I'm so excited for them. They came back to life. Dog's back, guys.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, I'll be so pissed if fucking Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith are still on the Nets come like March or April. And it feels like I don't know what the Nets like want to do or what the right price is going to be for those guys. But it feels like if they do like a fire sale, those two, every team we've talked to this offseason has been like, Dorian Finney-Smith would be sick. We would love to pick up Dorian Finney-Smith. Like everyone needs that guy. And so it would be like a moderate bidding war situation. I don't know what like the ceiling gets to or anything, but they would probably get like more than you would expect at like a normal time in the marketplace. So, I mean, I hope they do. I always say if you are winning 25 games, do not have guys that can impact winning on the roster. Like I don't want you to have good role players. And I feel like the Nets have a lot of them, the Blazers as well, but the Blazers are like building something, so I'm a little more willing to tolerate it than like the Nets, where it's like if we get Cooper Flag, we're still going to be asked for like 3 years after that. It's like a different kind. So yeah, are there any moves you expect to see from Sacramento, Pablo?
No, just I just trust all the ones that Aaron laid out. And the Nets might be willing to part with those guys because remember the coach came out and said he wants to play the big boy lineup. And I believe they were not included in that. I think it was Ben Simmons, Claxton, Day'Ron Sharp, and then
Okay.
there were some others. Maybe Dorian Finney-Smith, but yeah, they were interested in playing a bunch of non-shooting, non-scoring except for Noah Clowney was in there. So yeah,
Okay.
they might be willing to part with those guys. Might not be big enough.
Yeah. Well, hey, they're on the table. All right. So I'll throw this one to Jack as well because he already foreshadowed an undrafted free agent signing that he's excited about. Which player on the Kings are you two looking forward to most see progress this season? Jack, take it away.
I mean, so there's two big ones, and the one guy that's like actually going to help out in the rotation this year is Keon Ellis. He
Yeah.
was fantastic at the end of the year last year. What I'm looking for this year is for him to just be more aggressive in terms of hunting his own shot. Like he is a very good shooter. He's a 40% 3-point shooter. If he can just get a better sort of, if he can learn Kevin Herter's sort of mindset with shooting the ball and get a little bit more aggressive at finding his shot,
But he needs to
then
be able to come off the bench
yeah,
too. Don't
right.
don't do all of it.
Don't let his rhythm issues infect you. Continue to not do that. But I want him to be a little bit more aggressive offensively. Find a way to impact the offense more as a roller. I think he's a really underrated guy as like a cutter. He caught a couple lobs last year. I'd love to see that happen more often. But then the big one, and I don't think he's going to impact the team at all this year. And if he does, then it's probably because the Kings are in a really bad situation. But they've got this guy from Louisiana Tech as an undrafted free agent, Isaiah Crawford. He's fantastic. He's
Is this
the
the block
reigning
lobster I've
This is the
seen you
block
posting
lobster.
about?
This is the
Okay.
block lobster. And he's the reigning defensive player of the year and MVP of his college conference. He's a 4-year college player, 40% 3-point shooter, can defend basically all positions, fantastic blocker, great footwork. His big flaw is that he's torn both of his ACLs already.
Oh my goodness.
So there's a lot of injury considerations there, but he as a defensive player has all of the pieces that you need for he's everything you could possibly want in a wing defender. He can shoot and guard everyone else.
I
He's
like that.
fantastic if he can stay healthy.
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan Isaac obviously struggled with health a lot, and
Yeah.
he just put on 30 pounds. So maybe Crawford should do that. Just like
Crawford's a big dude. He's
20, 30
big.
more. He needs to get more.
Yeah.
We need mass on that frame. That's what will help.
Who couldn't
with the
use
knee.
30 more?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Just pack on 20, 30 on top. Whatever you're at right now, start bulking and you'll get healthier for sure.
Can I informally ask where you guys are at about Isaac's 250, his weight at 250? For someone who's like been made out of fairy dust his entire career, like he just turns just into nothing if he gets touched occasionally. Like, do we think he can hold 250?
It's good weight. It's all muscle
Good
around
weight?
the knees. It's like he basically
It's
built
just like jacked
bridges
knees.
around his knees and stuff like that. And
Yeah, his
and
tendons are like the internet cables they lay at the bottom of the ocean. They're just like 2 feet thick and they're just bulging out of his knees, but they're not going anywhere. He's good to go now.
he won't get swept away. If he lives in Tampa, he won't get swept away. That's how bulky he is now. And if God didn't want him to put on this weight, he would have come to him in a dream and he would have told him. So I think it's going to work out. And I think he's going to be a full-time center. He's going to be guarding Sabonis in the post. He's going to lock him up. And guys, head on. Nike's too woke. Don't buy from them. Buy from Judah, the Jonathan Isaac brand.
Nice. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
State of the League sponsored by Judah. I'll remember. All right.
That's official.
Mhm.
That's the
All right,
official.
official.
That's a real sponsorship that we definitely have. Shout out to Jonathan Isaac.
Shout out to Jonathan Isaac.
Could you imagine if like if someone reached out and they're like, "Stop, you're not affiliated with us." God, that's my dream.
If
Aaron,
we get an offer, we have to take it. To
Oh.
sponsor.
all right, Aaron, who are you looking forward to seeing progress for the Kings this upcoming season?
I think it has to be Keegan Murray. His rookie season, he set the record for threes made. He shot 42% from three. Then this season, I feel like the games that start like this, Harrison Barnes would go out there and play the worst basketball ever. Kevin Huerter would start 0-3 and get pulled. And the only like player above 6'6" that was a wing was Keegan Murray. And there was so much added offensive pressure in his 3-point shot suffer. He shot 36%. It took a hit. But he also was asked to create a lot more in those players' spaces. So in like, hey, instead of Barnes getting these looks because he got more looks last season, let's give those to Keegan. Same thing for Herter's shots. And Keegan took twice as many mid-range shots and made 10% of them more, 10% better, 36% to 47% from the mid-range. And so you saw him develop in that sense, which I really liked. But can we combine the two? Can we say we bring back the rookie year just turret shooting and maintain some more offensive creation? Because he would take guys off the dribble occasionally last year, which is an improvement from never at all his rookie season. That's kind of where I'm at. I think he can become one of the best 3-and-D players in the league, really establish himself as that this year.
Yeah, I feel like that's reasonable. I feel like he's been knocking on that door. Like his rookie season, it was the 3-point shooting was like overwhelming, and then he would have like defensive flashes where it's like, okay, that's exactly what everybody wants in a wing right now. Like that's the prototypical guy they talk about. But yeah, I think him. It's cool when he goes off the dribble and it's nice and you want him to have that in his bag. It's just kind of like finding that right balance where he's not being overburdened with like touches. If you don't create something out of this is a wash possession. Like we need you to do something right now. It'd be nicer if they could come a little bit more within the flow of a structured offense that has some like release valves if he gets caught up in different situations. So okay, all right. Keon Ellis adopts a little bit of 3-point shooting of the Kevin Huerter mindset. Keegan Murray becomes a little bit better on a balance between his first 2 seasons. And the Block Lobster adds on 30 pounds. I like this recipe. I think we're cooking with gas for real. All right. Well, I mean, that takes us into the final question that I have for you guys right now.
Well, wait, we didn't talk enough about Devin Carter, I think.
Hey, everybody cook. You guys, you are the Devin Carter. All 3 of you. I don't got shit to say about him. So I'm going quiet. Pablo, go ahead.
Devin Carter might be the third in the monster trio of Kings defensive players who can make threes. He's one of the more NBA ready players to come out of the draft. He is just a long wingspan, big guard defender who can guard probably 1s and 2s and some 3s. He tested at the combine as like one of the fastest guys, like John Wall speed, but that doesn't really mean that much. Like I think Zach Edey was outrunning guys, but still, he's just a very NBA ready 3-and-D guard. And so if he's able to contribute at all, then that's gonna be very cool. And then yeah, it's just he's the exact type of guy that you guys have been wanting. Like he's what I would assume who is, and hopefully better.
Yeah, I can't wait. So there's the reports say that he'll come back around December to February, something like that. There's also some people saying that they might redshirt him for the whole season. I think that depends.
He's hurt. What happened to him again?
It's like a shoulder strain, some sort of shoulder injury. But when he comes back, the pairing of him and Malik Monk as the bench unit backcourt is phenomenal. Even the one thing that I didn't love about Devin Carter when I was watching him back in Providence was I was a little bit worried about how he would be as a true one, as a playmaker. Malik Monk has taken so many strides in that regard that he's going to be able to take that pressure off of him in the second unit. Like it's his second unit to play make off of, and all Devin Carter's got to do is sit there and lock down the other team's 1 or 2. It's perfect.
The new off night.
Yeah, the new off night.
Aaron?
I think the Kings are going to be good defensively this season. I think Carter is going to be a big part of that. If he does come back, like December, what did you say, Jack?
Yeah, it's something December to February. They've given a
pretty big range.
Big yeah.
That's a gigantic range. Okay, let's say January.
It'll be cold when he returns.
Right. It's like the Kristaps Porzingis comeback. It's like we don't really know. Like sometime.
Yeah. But Pablo, you saw the Bulls have a good defense last season. Well, 2 seasons ago, 2023. The 5th best defense in 2023 with Vucevic as your starting center. Vucevic can't guard anybody. How do you build a
With
good defense around
Vucevic-
someone that can't protect the rim? Good point of attack defenders. And that's really what the Kings have been designing. This is the formula. I actually think the Kings are going to be one of the 10 best defenses this season. And I'm really excited about that. With between shedding Harrison Barnes, who can't guard anybody, Keegan Murray can defend really well, more Keon Ellis minutes, De'Aaron Fox with the league in steals, adding Devin Carter. All of a sudden, it's like this team actually can defend everywhere except the rim. And, it would be easier just to have one guy that defends the rim. But hey, we found a way to have a good defense anyways. And I think that's going to be the most underrated part. People are going to have a hard time adjusting their perception of Sacramento, where we're always going to be the offensive team that's soft defensively, right? That's where you can't shed that. I don't know if their defense is good enough to win a playoff series. What if one of the best defenses in basketball? Well, let's do that and see what people say.
Yeah, over the last couple of weeks of the season last year, the Kings had the 3rd best defensive rating in all of basketball, with the only change being putting Keon Ellis in the starting lineup. And you're doing the same thing, except you're replacing the most negative defensive player in that same lineup with DeMar DeRozan. That's it.
DeMar DeRozan,
Davion
member of that top 5 Bulls defense.
That's true.
Yeah.
Davion Mitchell couldn't guard anything either, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Whoa,
Wildly
whoa,
overrated
off
defensive
night.
player.
He's off night.
No.
If you
He
play
was
against
on
him,
the
you have an
night.
off
His
night.
night was off every night. It's actually
I think
flipped.
we got the wrong guess. We're learning.
Yeah.
I think we got some frauds up here.
Oh man.
Yeah, Jordan McLaughlin should be able to replace a lot of what Davion did defensively for at least until Devin Carter. I know that sounds like a really low bar.
That's true, though.
Jordan, this is 5'11". This is who we're talking
Davion
about.
Mitchell's
How tall do you
5'11".
think Davion Mitchell is? Davion Mitchell is like 5'9", maybe. Like he was
he's
really
like 6'2".
come on.
He's
not
not
6'2".
6'2". He's letting he's
stocky,
listed
though.
6'2".
That's the important.
It's so insane is like poor Raptors fans, because I've been like on Raptors Twitter to seeing like what they're up to, and there's a lot of Davion hype for sure, and there's like he might develop. Davion Mitchell is like 26 years old.
Are they posting the Baylor highlights?
Yeah,
they
it's
are.
like, dude, he's so like, this is not a young player like that's developing. Like it's a grown ass dude. Like it's time.
The young player core of Chris Boucher and Davion Mitchell, ages 27 and 31. That's
Oh my god.
I saw it. I
Chris
saw a
Boucher
tweet.
fooled me.
Yeah, I saw a tweet with Boucher, like him like hitting a 3, and the comment was like, "Man, form looks better." And it's like, really, form looks better at 31 years
31.
old. Give me a break.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Come on.
Was it built in 31 years?
Hey, probably somewhere between there. He's trying his best. Okay, jeez Louise. Oh my god.
The
Talk to me.
Chinese high-speed rail network wasn't built in. It was built really fast.
Yeah, it was built in 30 minutes. They were like, in the speech that the United States gave, where they were like, it's unrealistic that we could do something of that capacity in this amount of time. In that speech, China actually built their high-speed rail. So
Want
it was
to
pretty
see
cool.
me run over there and build high-speed rail? Want to see me do it
Yeah.
again?
Nice.
Nice.
What a beautiful left turn. The Sacramento Kings into high-speed rail. I love high-speed rail. I love the Kings.
Is the California rail coming? Does it go through Sacramento?
I don't know if it's ever going to happen, man. I've been watching the same 500 feet of highway be under construction for the last 7 years. I don't know if we're seeing it anytime soon.
Nice. Well,
The construction in California takes so long that by the time
takes
they're
so
done,
long.
I don't even remember what it used to look like. I'm like, what did they change here? Like they just got rid of the cones? I forget what this used to be.
woke
Some
construction.
Gavin Newsom, that slut.
Yeah. What
Whoa,
does Trump?
Jesus
What does
Christ.
Trump call him? Newscum? Gavin Newscum.
Hey, that's
That's
kind of sick. Damn, he's got names, dude. I'll tell you what. Which
Mm.
like it makes me laugh because like if he was ever an adversary with JD Vance, I feel like he would cook up the nastiest fucking shit for him. Like I feel like he's such an easy guy to make fun of, but like Trump just has to be like, no, that's a cool guy who's on my side for sure, and like bottle up all of like the natural bully that's like bubbling out of him.
Give it a couple years. We'll turn on him. Throw him under the bus. I support
Gady
Gunner.
Vance.
Run for
Gady
Where's
president.
Vance.
eyeliner?
We love Gady Vance.
Gady.
JD Vance. Oh man. Oh my
I'm surprised
god.
he hasn't let that slip out already.
Yeah. All right. Well, last question. I guess we have a running tally of I mean, unless there's any other Devin Carters we want to talk about on the Kings. No. All right. We're asking everyone who comes on who they think is going to win the NBA championship. We're keeping a running tally, and we will tell you the tally directly after you vote. So, Aaron,
Oh, I
you
thought it
can
was going to
vote
be an ad read from Judah. I got excited.
directly after. A little word from our friends over at Judah. These shoes will last you 4 games, guys. You can play 4 full games
Yeah,
in these shoes.
You can play 40 days and 40 nights in these shoes. Don't worry.
Nice.
Biblically good shoes, my goodness.
All right, Aaron, who's winning the title?
The winner of the 2025 championship will be the Boston Celtics.
Okay. You want to elaborate, or are you cool just keeping it brief?
The Celtics destroyed the league last season. They ran a net rating above 10. It statistically was one of like the 5 best teams ever. I still don't believe that. Like the eye test tells you that you can beat those guys. It is interesting because despite like I don't love Tatum as much as most people do. I don't even love Jaylen Brown as much as probably anyone in this podcast right now does. But they just rain threes and play good defense at such an insane clip that they're going to smoke the league and win 60 plus games again. Like they're just going to walk into that, even if Kristaps misses a bunch of time. Like this roster is just so loaded. I do want to note that I think the Thunder are going to be historically good. My final prediction for them was 68 wins. I think they're going to whoop ass this season. And I do think it's going to be a Thunder Celtics championship. I think the Celtics will win that series.
If the Thunder win 68 games in this Western Conference and don't win the title, that'll be like one of the biggest, like, just forgotten great teams of like kind of how the Spurs when the Warriors won 73 and the Spurs are like, we haven't lost at home since the Civil War ended, and everyone's like, we don't care, man. Jack, who do you think's winning the title?
I wanted to be original so badly, but I'm going to go with the Thunder. I mean, for me, it's either going to be the Celtics or it's going to be the Thunder. And when I looked at the Thunder's roster last year, I saw, a lack of rebounding. They could always use a little bit more shooting, a little bit more perimeter defense, and they addressed all of those issues. They got the best possible option to put in as a rebounding center to change the pace with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. They got Caruso for nothing. They picked up a couple rookies that I love. Shout out to AJ Mitchell and Dylan Jones. Those guys are awesome. This team is fantastic. I can't wait. They're going to be historically good.
Caruso for nothing. That's like a 21. That's a 21-year-old averaging nearly a triple double. Have you seen him run a transition?
8 rebounds a game. Best rebounding guard in the league.
Best rebounding guard in the league. That's right.
I do think we're entering a different era of like this is going to be Lakers Celtics of the 80s. Like we're running into that where it's going to be Thunder Celtics every year for the next 5 years. And I hope you're really into that because that's just what's coming. I think like we knew OKC had SGA. We knew they had all these great young players. They have 37 first-round picks. It was inevitable for when they were going to turn into just a juggernaut. And we're here. It's going to be this season. It's going to be miserable. You're going to hate it. And it's not going to be fun for anybody. I think I laugh at it now, but we're going to be like bowing down to our Thunder overlords for the next like 6 years.
Yeah, it's incredible what they've done over there. Not only have they built this incredibly deep, essentially flawless team, the only player that is not signed for the next 2 to 3 years confirmed is Caruso, they're paying $9 million a season. And I know they're going to get a great, they're going to get a great deal on him. It's ridiculous. They've got these guys held down forever with all of the picks in the world. This Thunder team's ridiculous.
Yeah. The way I touched on like the Maxey, the impact of like young, like insanely talented player on a rookie scale deal and how that like allows teams to do funky shit. The Thunder like have 3 of those, 4. Like if you're looking at like obviously Chet and J-Dub, but even if you like having like Isaiah Joe on that scale of deal or Aaron Wiggins is still something
Case
where like, Case and Wall, just like all these guys. As far as like Lakers, Celtics of the 80s, The Celtics I'm a little skittish on, just because like if you're time traveling 3 years from now and it's like Al Horford disintegrated and Drew
But
Holiday.
He has no plans to retire yet.
Hey, maybe he's the first, like he's the precedent setting case on whether or not you could do like cybernetics in the NBA. He has like robot legs and they're like, hey, you have to let him play. Otherwise you're anti-Dominican. He needs to be allowed in here.
We find out Dominicans are genetically perfect for long-term basketball, and then Colin Coward's thrown into jail.
Nice. Yeah, I just feel like Horford and Drew Holiday both are places where it's like if those guys take big steps back, they're not the same kind of team. They're a team that's like way more. And in the East, maybe you don't need to be that kind of team to make the finals 5 straight times. Like it's not like there's these massive juggernauts that are like climbing up the ladder, a la Oklahoma City last year, where it's like you're looking into the future. And it's like, oh shit, these guys are really going to be nasty in a couple years. The Magic, maybe the Pacers are doing fun stuff, but it's just not the same as like looking down and seeing Wemby crawling up the standings or something. So I think, I don't know, I'd be a little for that like established 5-year rivalry or whatever. That's a little much for me. But this year specifically, yeah, I think our tally right now is 5 for Oklahoma City, putting Aaron's in there, and then 7 for Boston. So Boston is me, Pablo, Jackson Frank from the Philly episode, slightly biased from the Mavs episode, Carson from Nerd Sesh for the Warriors, Kofi for the Pistons, and then Aaron right now. The Oklahoma City 5 is Isaac from the Deep 3, Ben Pfeiffer from the Pacers episode, Matt Sponhauer for the Hornets, Kenny Beecham for the Bulls, and now Jack the Kings fan. And then the Bucks, one Joel Moran stands alone as the defender of the Milwaukee Bucks.
What? What?
Dude,
That's his pick?
that's my favorite part of like every episode since it's happened is like telling the next people, yeah, he picked the Bucks. And everyone's like, what? Yeah, it's beautiful.
He should have to come on every episode.
Yeah, Mr.
He just
Moran,
pops
you've got to
in the
defend
last
this
5
one.
minutes to defend himself. What's going
Whoa.
on? Milwaukee?
Is he just really high on like AJ Johnson being fantastic at age 13?
Hey man, double ankle surgery is not too much for Chris Middleton. He'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Goodness.
He was originally, I think, Celtics, but he was like, watch out for the dark horse, Milwaukee. And then we were like encouraging him. We're like, yeah, they're pretty good. They have some talent. And then he's like, you know what? I'm saying it.
You bullied him. Man, you're a forced confession.
Hey,
but
he was happy. There was very little coercion
This will
going on.
not
here.
hold up in court.
I'll tell you what, it's hard for me to see Dame standing next to Giannis and for me to not think that's a contender. Like my caveman brain, my Arturas Karnisovas brain, it's hard for me to now say too good player, good team.
Good team.
And then you glance over their shoulder and it's Doc Rivers.
Oh,
Yeah. That's my problem with them, because I do think that, like, you can't rule them out, right? It's Giannis. You can't say no. Then it's like, oh my God, like Doc Rivers is coaching his team. Their depth is terrible. Brook Lopez is 39 years old. And you start stacking up like all the reasons that want to happen. And I also feel like Dame's like abdominal thing seems to be like kind of chronic. And at this point, he's shooting like he's a worse shooter than CJ McCall. Like he isn't that threat from
Chill on my goat, chill.
Hey, who cares? Who needs core muscles when you're shooting the basketball from 30 feet away? Who needs
right?
it?
No,
Who
who
needs
needs it?
lift? Yeah,
No problem.
doesn't matter. All right, cool. Let's go, Aaron first. Anything you want to plug while you have the platform here?
I'm on Possible Chairs on TikTok, Possible Chairs on Twitter, my Patreon for various writing pieces and ridiculously long lists. Also my Cameo. If you want to pay me to spread propaganda, I'll do that. Was I mean about your favorite player? Pay me to say the opposite, and I'll just do it.
Nice. All right. Is that Possible Chairs as well?
Yes, that's right.
All right. I'll link it all in the description of this video. Jack, how about you?
Same thing. Jack the Kings fan on TikTok, Jack Dan on Twitter. For Kings updates, Kings stuff throughout the season, go to codaball.com. Boom.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Real
Beautiful.
professionals on here. Real guys with real jobs,
That's how we do it.
Hey, love to hear it. I just realized this. we have not said patreon.com/state of the league in like a month and a half on this YouTube
Well, it's
channel.
on the Pau Gasol outro.
Hey, so you know
The name
what?
of your Twitter.
Yeah, it is the name. I feel like that's been pretty good promo. That's been keeping people
Yeah,
rolling it. But all right. Thank you all for tuning in. Patreon.com/state of the league. If you want another episode this week and every week and a bunch of other cool, fun stuff.
It's the spookiest NBA Patreon.
Yeah, that was a ghost for audio only listeners. That wasn't just Pablo. And Pau Gasol, take it away.
Lay down